Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 95, and this is going to be part one of the 3-gun special. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else that gun enthusiasts may be looking for. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. And I forgot to mention that we strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective, first and foremost. So, yeah, we're going to do I think maybe like a 2-part or 3-part 3-gun special for the next couple episodes. And then just talk about some gear that'll really help either a novice or just someone that's really beginning to get into the sport. And just some things that they can pick up that aren't too expensive as far as the gear goes. And, will really help them out and be a little bit more prepared for what their match will be like. So this week joining me, I got Chad, and TJ and Simon are kind of MIA, and they may pop in, they may not. But how's it going, Chad?
It's going good. I'm sitting here, been doing a lot of stuff on reloading, shooting, all kinds of stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I seen some, you got a review this week to talk about. That's pretty cool, and it actually goes along with our theme, I think.
Yeah, that's why I did that one this week, because I was like, he's going to a 3-gun special. I better do that review so that somebody will, at least it goes with what we're doing. So they have to wait and listen to that.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to review a knife, but I was like, that's not really relative to what we're talking about unless you're like, cutting open ammo boxes or sabotaging somebody's vehicle because you're sad that you lost.
Well, if you're shooting 3-gun, you're going to be cutting open a lot of ammo boxes.
That is true. And I've shot a couple where they made you they made you pick up a bayonet and stab some kind of mannequin, but I think that was just a little harebrained idea. So just to cover the announcements real quick, our bandwidth sponsor is Patriot Patch Co. Going over to patriotpatch.co and check out all the cool patches that I'm designing and me and Jake Challand are selling. We actually just ordered our we did a batch order of the Huckleberry patches. So everyone that pre-ordered those should be arriving and then being shipped to you shortly. And so now we're going to launch a new pre-order, and this is a Bullet Bill patch. So if you're not familiar with Nintendo or any of the Super Mario video games, Bullet Bill is a big bullet-shaped enemy or a baddie, and basically he gets shot out of a cannon. He's usually much bigger than Mario, and he's kind of indestructible. There's only a couple ways to defeat him. Anyway, you don't care about all the nerdy stuff. It's a bullet with an eyeball and an arm, and it looks badass, and that's kind of all the description you need to know. If you want to check that out, go to www.patriotpatch.co. Also, guests are always welcome on the show. If you want to come on and join us, just shoot me an email at cross@firearmsradio.tv. And then also, since I did that review of that Bravo concealment holster a few weeks ago, there's a discount code RTT Combo 10 to get 10% off your next order at Bravo Concealment. And they told me that's going to be active as long as my review's up. So it's going to be active for eternity, apparently. So go and enjoy that if you need any kind of Kydex products. So that being said, I guess I'll preface with saying, Chad, you've shot some 3-gun competitions, haven't you?
A couple. It's been a couple years.
I've shot a couple too, so I think we're about the same experience level. Did you place well in either of those events?
They were just local club matches. Place well. When you get 30 people, I guess in the middle probably means I did okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't done any 3-gun this week though. So you want to go with what you did in guns, or you want to go straight into 3-gun?
I haven't done anything in guns for a little bit. Just being a good business owner and trying to get as much billable hours as I can in. So The only tinkering I've gotten to do with guns is if I get my Brownells order in and I'm bolting stuff on the guns or upgrading parts or whatnot. I did pre-order that Magpul Hunter stock, obviously. Apparently they're going to be releasing those, or they're shipping them to the dealers sometime this month. I know they pushed the release date back a couple times. I went ahead and I pre-ordered the Flat Dark Earth one, obviously, but I don't know if they're going to do like just black and then do the colors later on, or hopefully they're going to do all the colors right off the bat. I don't know. I know there's a lot of guys that have pre-ordered it I did mine through DSG Arms. I know you can pre-order through Cabela's, I think, still.
Yeah, I have I keep thinking about buying one of their 1022 stocks they came out with, whatever.
Yeah, and those aren't released yet either, so
right.
It's kind of two big, highly anticipated products that are just kind of sitting on the, I don't know, they're just trying to flesh it out or make sure all the distributors have enough quantity, so when they hit the shelves, they're going to, not be sold out the next day.
Right. Speaking of Magpul,
yeah,
I did buy a sand PMag and dyed it with RIT dye. It turned out pretty good. I did that this week in guns. Besides going to the range and shooting, but that was nothing spectacular. But yeah, I figured I'd show off the colored PMags. Since it looks like Tony's here now, maybe he did something much more fun.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't see it. Well, anyway, you were talking about what you did this week in guns?
Yeah,
I got lucky.
Your favorite part?
Yeah, I got lucky this week. I zeroed a horrible, inexpensive sight that I bought from Amazon. It was a M16A2 style rear sight. I had to put the thing so far over to the left that it actually has no more room to go left to finally get it centered up and sighted in at 50 yards. So that piece of garbage is coming off my rifle.
Yeah, I've experienced that. So does that just mean that it's was manufactured poorly?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's from UTG, so some of their stuff is hit or miss. It had over 400 something reviews on it. People loved it, or every now and again you got one that was off like mine and they hated it.
All their employees are under the gun, aren't they? So when you're manufacturing under duress, sometimes there's some tolerances in there.
Hey, listen, they try harder when your life is on the line. I'm just saying. Little hustle.
That's what UTG stands for, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Hey, little hustle there. But the other thing that I did was I got invited by this guy named Rosie. He's a big deal in New Jersey as the muzzle loader and black powder guy. He invited me out to the range with my 1858 Remington clone, and I thought it was just going to be a couple of guys shooting the breeze and, shooting some black powder. This guy proceeded to give me pretty much a 6-hour in-depth class on all things black powder, muzzle loading, and it was a whole lot of fun. Something like that, you probably pay $200 for the class. This guy brought out a black powder shotgun, black powder rifles, a Colt Walker clone. Hey, TJ.
Hey.
And I was just burning up his black powder, and then I also discussed, I think we talked about this before, if you could use black powder replicas as a self-defense firearm. He pretty much showed me in no uncertain terms that this thing, at least for one full cylinder, can hang with any revolver out there as a self-defense firearm. So I had a lot of fun this week in guns.
Nice.
What about you, TJ? Did you do anything on guns this week?
I think he's muted himself. He's doing something.
Oh, okay. Well, this is going to be a 3-gun episode. Tony, have you ever shot anything competitive with firearms?
Yes, I shot competitive firearms, long-range shooting. Well, not long-range, medium-range, I guess you'd call it. And surplus rifle shoots and also air guns. So, yeah, I shot some competitive, but nothing like action shooting.
Okay. Yeah, I've shot in two myself. The first one was pistol, shotgun, and carbine, and the second one, interesting enough, same range, kind of the same annual event. They ditched the shotgun and they went for precision long gun. So we had to make shots to 6, 7, and 1,100 yards, and I think up to a mile. So that was somewhere around 1,700 yards. So it was definitely a little bit different and disappointing for someone that did the first shoot and then bought a shotgun for it, and then they didn't do shotgun courses the next year. But we're going to be kind of talking about all four of those products, not a whole lot on bolt action. I've got one product that most of you guys that have Accuracy International detachable box magazines will really like. But for the most part, handgun, carbine, and shotgun we'll be talking about the next couple weeks. Is TJ ready to go?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome. Have you shot a 3-gun, buddy?
No, I have not. I planned to last year, but the guy that runs it locally is just not very, I guess, on top of it. So I wasn't able to join whenever I wanted to.
Okay.
Hey,
so
just real quick.
Yeah.
How do I sound?
You sound much better right now than you did about 10 seconds ago.
Okay, I had to change my settings.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right, so the first product we're going to be talking about this week is a tactical chest rig. Now, you don't have to have any kind of tactical chest vest rigs when you shoot, and I would strongly discourage you going out and getting a airsoft tactical vest, because everyone's going to laugh at you behind your back a little bit, unless you're not the only one there doing it. Kind of depends on the scene. I've done it before. I did the first one with the vest. I found it to be more cumbersome and than helpful. But the advantage of a chest rig is that it gives you the molly that you need and the pouches that you need without being excessive and bulky and hindering some of your movement, weighing you down. So 511's got a chest rig that's actually pretty nice compared to everything else, and the price point is actually a lot lower than some of the more expensive rigs by I think even 511 has a more expensive rig, but some of those tactical companies that are actually producing products for military and law enforcement, those can be very expensive because, of course, those departments have purchase numbers, whereas if you're just one guy, no one wants to spend $200 on a vest. So for only $84.99, of course you can get it retail for about $80. So I got the link at Bass Pro Shops has this vest for $80. It's a tactical chest rig, which means it's kind of like padded suspenders with a kind of a panel in front of it for your carbine magazine pouches, so your AR-15 pouches, and then it's got molly webbing on the fronts and on the shoulders for if you wanted to add magazine pouches for your pistol mags. It's available in black sandstone, which I guess is a cross between coyote and flat dark earth, storm, which kind of looks like a stealth gray, and tack OD, which is like an OD green. So it's got optional hydration storage. Also, if you wanted to put a kind of a water bladder in there, it is waterproofed. The front pouches, you've got the modularity of configuring them differently. It's got a map admin pocket in the rear, so if you're having to keep track of score, or maybe you just want to put some some granola bars or something back there, so you can eat or do whatever you need on the go. That's also nice to have. So it's all-weather nylon construction. The shoulder straps are padded, which is going to be nice because if you got that thing loaded down with fully loaded magazines, the weight's really going to add up. So having padded shoulders is going to be comfortable at the end of the match, which you will appreciate. So you can either wear it as like an H frame, which means left strap going over the left shoulder, right strap going over the right shoulder, or a Rhodesian style, which is kind of cross back, so the straps kind of cross. It's got a less elastic band for retention, and it's got a nylon cover or bungee for the magazine straps, and it uses durable Duraflex hardware. So what do you guys think about this?
You know, if you're into chest rigs, it looks like a nice chest rig. Like you said, I mean, a lot of times in 3-gun, you're going to be hot. All the 3-gun matches are, seem to be where it's hot. So if you wear a chest rig, you're going to want something like this, something not a full vest, because a full vest is going to be hot.
Yeah.
I'm not into chest rigs, but they do serve a nice purpose, especially like the 3-gun match you were talking about where you're doing a lot of running and stuff like that. You're going to want lots of magazines. If it's one of those super long matches, stages, whatever, then a chest rig comes in handy. So I can see how it's going to be a big plus.
Yeah, you really got to look at some of the prerequisites and some of the. Hopefully, they've published some sort of description of the courses and the stages of fire before you show up. So, if it's a small club or gun range, and they've got match or stages where it's like 20 rounds of pistol and 60 rounds of carbine. And then, I don't know, like 8 or 16 rounds of shotgun. I mean, that's all something that you could carry on the belt, and you don't need something like this. If it's a course that's more extensive and long, where they actually want you running and reloading, a lot of times, for safety reasons, they don't have you running with an AR or running with a shotgun. So the need to have 6 AR-15 magazines like on your chest I don't think a lot of people are going to need that, unless you're like doing something like Nut and Fancy does, where he's running in the desert, when there's 100 yards or so in between each target. If it's set up to be much shorter stages of fire, you'll probably just want a nice belt rig, where you can have 2 carbine magazines on your belt and 2 pistol magazines or 3. This is something that I've seen people use these when the course kind of required it or needed it. But if it doesn't need it, it's almost like you're just playing commando or playing dress up. And I don't mean that like critically, because my first shoot I showed up in a UTG OD green like full airsoft vest, and I quickly shed that thing off because I was sweating bullets.
I bet you got a lot of stuff for it being UTG, huh?
I don't think that the name brand was a concern. More the fact of why is that guy dressed like G.I. Joe? Like he's never shot a 3-gun before, because he obviously is a little bit over prepared.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the 3-gun matches you're not gonna need more than 2 or 3 mags at the most. So like you said, you can do pouches on your all around your belt, and then with 3-gun you can put mags pretty much anywhere. So you can have 4 or 5 pistol mags in the front, and then 2, 3, 4 AR mags on the side, because I know some of the action sports you have to have them behind your center line, but with 3-gun I don't think that's a concern. So you can just have your belt completely decked out and not worry about it. So it's kind of a limited capacity there. But just I haven't had any firsthand with any of 511's stuff like this, but I've heard at least 3 or 4 personal accounts of their belts not lasting very long. So I'm wondering, I would be a little concerned about the longevity of these things, and how the nylon and the stitching and all that stuff would hold up over time, especially if you're trying to run it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has one advantage for Ryan, though. It's got Velcro up by your breast pocket would be, so you can put those Patriot Patch Company patches on there.
Yeah, you can have I'm Your Huckleberry and Bullet Bill and Gun Guy Radio. If you representing then.
There you go. Yeah, I do like I like that they added the molly up the straps. A lot of people don't tend to do that, and you just kind of lose some available area, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
And that's kind of a perfect spot to put one magazine pouch or a double magazine pouch.
Right.
if you have a
flashlight or something like that.
yeah, and if you have a slinged carbine or a slinged shotgun, sometimes having something right there can get in the way of that sling. But like I said, a lot of times you're not actually running with the firearm for safety reasons. If you're going to be transitioning from one target to another, they usually have you dump it in a barrel and then if you're using your pistol, it's holstered, and they don't want you like drawing it unless you're stationary. Usually they'll even score a rectangle out on the ground, the shooting spot. So if you're shooting and your foot's outside that spot, that's a disqualification for that stage, or they knock you down some points. So next up, actually, what were you saying?
Actually, I've used the Condor version of this exact same chest rig when I run classes, either the ones I'm taking or the ones I'm actually teaching. I've never ran a competition, but I've run classes with them, and it's very important to have a comfortable chest rig. And pretty much, I think as cheap as you should go is something like the Condor that I picked up, which is slightly cheaper than this. I was looking to see what Codora, what thread count they had. I mean, some of it's 500, some of it's 1,000. The 1,000 is really thick, but it's really durable. I've had the Condor version of this for 5 years now, running everything in it, and it's still good, and it fits me as large as I am. But I run it Rhodesian style with it crisscrossed over my back so it doesn't come off when I'm moving a lot. Mm-hmm. And those shoulder straps, I use what they call a wolf hook as a one-point sling, and run the sling through that on my shoulder and around the buttstock of my firearm and just have it hanging down. Yes. And that's how I run mine, because I'm a big dude and I can't run a 2-point around my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this, I think, if it's as good as the Condor, which Condor has raised their level up. It used to be airsoft junk, and now they've really gotten a lot better. It's money well spent. And you really won't embarrass yourself with 511 gear,
Yeah. Well, and I think having a chest rig, it's a little bit more practical. If, like I said, that specific competition has some more long distance where they are wanting you to carry lots of rounds on your person, or be able to, shoot pistol and then run, 100 yards to the carbine station or 50 yards to the carbine station. Being able to carry all that on you comfortably and not having leg holsters, drop leg holsters on both sides. That's just little overkill. So the next one I want to talk about is kind of a shameless plug, because this is from Gun Guy Gear, and this is a company that I've also launched with Jake Challand. So I'm still bringing this to you impartially, because I know a lot of people who have bolt-action rifles that take Accuracy International magazines. There's not a lot of holsters on the market for those magazines, so usually you have to carry them in a drop pouch or a dump pouch, or in a pocket. Well, so Jake's cooked these up. These are basically magazine carriers for the AICS 308 5-round magazine. So they're made out of Kydex, and you have a couple different options with the clips on the back. The hardware, you can have either a heavy-duty belt clip. It's just a singular clip on the back, or you can have short malice clips. Malice clips, I know that Tactical Tailor makes those. They're basically polymer clips that are kind of flexible, and that you can easily screw a holster to these the clips, and then run the other end through molly webbing, and then it kind of snaps into itself by a little coupler. And so then when you want to remove it, you would just kind of stick the tip of a bullet inside that coupler, almost like a giant zip tie. But it's pretty flat, so it's kind of streamlined in that you don't have anything hugely obtrusive sticking off of it. So it's actually a really nice solution for carrying around your bolt-action magazines. So once again, you can have it on a chest rig, so it's always on your person. If the stage you're at requires you to actually travel to the platform where you'll be shooting a bolt-action rifle, if your 3-gun is using long guns, or if they let you to leave your ammo at that station next to your bipoded out rifle, that's kind of more preferable. But these are still pretty cool for multiple kinds of competition, like F-class, where you're using your bolt-action rifle a lot more. Or even for hunting, I know I definitely am looking forward to getting a hold of some of these to be able to clip this to my belt and always have an extra magazine for my deer rifle. The MSRP is $35. That's actually retail from us. So if you go over to gunguygear.com and then look under carriers, and just magazine carriers, you'll see one for standard carbine magazines, and then this AICS 308-762 magazine pouch. So it's got a 1 to 2 week lead time and free shipping.
Yeah, Ryan, you forgot to mention that, I hear on other podcasts that, like, the Precision Rifle series, that they are pretty much wanting something like this, and that's kind of one of the reasons, they went to it, because those matches, they kind of have to go around, shoot stages, but sometimes they need an extra mag, I guess, so this really helps them out.
And at $80 and $90 a pop, you do not want to lose those things.
Or drop them.
Or drop them and possibly dent them on a rock and ruin the feed lips or something. I mean, they're really good magazines, but it's definitely more of an investment than your under $20 PMags or even your $40 Glock magazines.
But I think they're new. Those AIC mags are at least New Jersey compliant, though, right?
We'll have to ask our resident New Jersey resident.
I hate you.
You can have a detachable 5-round magazine in a rifle, can you not?
I hate you. Okay, I hate you. Yes, we can have detachable 5-round magazines. All you guys that live in free states, you just take it for granted.
Well, see, Tony, what you gotta come back with is Ryan and Chad is that Oregon and Washington seem to be trying to catch up.
Yeah, you guys need to stop this. I swear, this is going out to you guys in Oregon and Washington. Get your crap together before they turn your state into this mess.
Yeah, exactly.
I just had a friend ask me today, because he knows I like surplus rifles, what's a good surplus rifle we can get in Jersey? I'm like, okay, well, M1 Garand, too expensive for what it is. M1 carbine, against the law. M1 carbine is illegal. The Setme rifle, yeah, they're cheap, but you can't have it. The CZ 2008, or the CZ 58, whichever you want to call it, the one that looks like the AK-47. Yeah, you can't have that either unless you do a lot of modification on it. I'm like, pretty much the only surplus rifle you can get without a lot of trouble in this state, SKS, semi-automatic. I mean, SKS, that's it. How crazy is that?
Mm-hmm.
So the next product, so I don't know who added this to the show notes, but you guys want to talk about the new Trijicon?
Yeah, I saw this today, so I figured we ought to throw it in there. Hold on 1 second, Tony, I'm gonna mute you.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw this today because I think it just hit today. It's kind of the Trijicon MRO, miniature rifle optic, and it's like I guess their foray into the Aimpoint T1 H1 type competition. So I figured, being a three-gun episode, we'd throw that in here, and has like a backup optic, I guess you could say, because I know a lot of people like to offset those smaller optics as a backup whenever you're shooting your magnified rifle. So basically what it is, it's a single power 25mm objective lens with a 2 MOA dot, which is really cool because I know some of them, some people offer a slightly larger dot, and that's good, pretty good that it's 1 MOA or 2 MOA. I'm sorry. It's got 70mm or 70 MOA total adjustment range. I guess that'd be in both directions. It's only 4.1 ounces, so it's going to be pretty. I haven't looked to see what that compares to the Aimpoint, but it's got to be pretty close. It's powered by a single 2032 battery, which is pretty standard. It's got a 5-year continuous use at day setting 3, so I'd assume that's probably the middle range setting. So that's pretty awesome. 5 years. They're really competing with Aimpoint there, because I know that's kind of one of Aimpoint's claim to fame is that you can just leave it on and your sight will always be ready to go. The brightness settings, it's got, let's see, 6 day settings. So yeah, that 3 would be right in the middle, and 2 night vision settings, which is awesome. If you run night vision, you can basically, I think what the night vision does is it turns it real low, so it doesn't wash out whenever you're using night vision. I know that's not something most people would use, but it's cool to have, I guess. Let's see, it's ambidextrous brightness control because it's right there in the middle on the top, so it's not on the offset on the side. The housing is forged aluminum, and I think one thing they're claiming, I guess, is an advantage is that the objective lens is a little bit larger than the aim point, so you get slightly bigger ring to look through, I guess. A large viewing area allows faster target acquisition and engagement with reduced tube effect, and that's their quote from their brochure. It does not come with a static base. It comes with it comes available with 3 different bases. You can buy it by itself with no base for $579, or the low mount I think is $629, and then the high, the absolute co-witness and the lower third co-witness are $639. So for $639 MSRP, which will probably be looking at 6 and under for street prices, you know. So it's pretty competitive price to the aim point as well. Let's see, waterproof to 30 meters in case you go diving with your rifle. Parallax free because it's a single power. You don't have to worry about setting it in the perfect position. Superior quality glass lenses or multi-coated lenses provide superior clarity and light gathering capabilities with 0 distortion and provide for a crisp dot reticle. Let me see if there's any more features. I think really all they did was they just put out a couple little brochures today, so you don't. There's not a ton of information so far.
Yeah, I think one of the distributors actually leaked the info. And so kind of one of those deals where it's like, well, okay, we better get some info out now because the leak has already surfaced.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I heard about this. I actually saw something on it, I think a couple days ago, or it might have been morning yesterday. So yeah, it didn't have the specs or anything. It was just kind of a picture of it with just a few of the little specs, and then like now it's got the full specifications and the prices and everything, but it looks like a direct competitor with what, the Aimpoint Micro, or is...
Yeah, that's definitely what they're going for.
Yeah, and I'm sure coming from Trigicon, it's going to be a well thought out site. And,
yeah.
I guess it's probably personal preference after that if you want an Aimpoint or this. Yeah,
I think the advantage you have with the Aimpoint is that it's been running. People have been running them for in the desert for 10 years or longer, so it's like you can have that track record. But this brand new Trigicon, you're gonna have to wait for people to prove it before you know that it.
Yeah, but they got a good name. No,
yeah.
I mean, they've proved all their other sites, so I guess they probably had it worked on for a while or something. They've been, it's probably been dragged behind a truck like Tony likes to do. So.
Yeah, the price point's really pretty similar to the Aimpoint too, if I'm remembering right. I don't remember offhand what the Aimpoint Micro MSRP for, but I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, I was thinking they were right in the ballpark. So.
Yeah, so it's $640 roughly with the either the absolute or lower third co-witness, which are the two that you're more likely to buy unless you put it on a shotgun or something like that. Then you'd probably get the low mount for I think you save $10 or $20. So let us see. Anything else you notice?
I didn't know.
Kind of rushing through it.
Well, you just added it. I had to go look. I was like,
yeah. Sorry about that, guys. One thing that's a little interesting too, I noticed Aimpoint offers a 2 MOA and a 4 MOA dot. So I think the 4 MOA is more for like if you know you're just going to be using it more for close quarters. You just have a big old dot, kind of like a an XS big dot, similar, where you you can just put that big old fat dot on it. But if you're going to be doing more precision stuff, you'd obviously want that.
Yeah, because the 2 MOA dot, they're pretty small on close targets. So yeah, but 100 yards and out, they work fine.
Mhm.
At least for me. I prefer the like 4 MOA dots, but that's just because I never shoot anything far out with a dot sight.
Yeah. Okay, let's
Yeah,
see.
it's really tough to be actually if you're shooting at a 3-gun, you're shooting at especially if it's a small steel target at like 100 yards and you've only got like a 2 MOA or a 1 MOA dot. Man, it is really hard to get at least 2 consecutive hits on it if you're having to squint, if you don't have any kind of magnification. So a little bit larger MOA helps in the fact that you can kind of pick up your dot right after recoil and get that follow-up shot pretty quickly. I mean, you're obviously not shooting for MOA-sized groups at 200 yards in 3-gun. Typically, it's just ring a 12 to 18-inch steel target twice and then move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Now the aim point, just for comparison, at Optics Planet, they've got the aim point H1, which would be the direct competitor, for $629. So they're claiming their MSRP is right around the same price. So it's going to be, I would imagine, maybe even cheaper than the aim point.
Yep.
So that'll be pretty interesting.
Nice.
And I'm not sure that the aim points come with a rail. I know they come with I think they come with a low mount. I don't know if they come with the co-witness mount for an AR.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know that ask me something about Vortex, and I'll be able to answer you. Ask me something about aim point, and I'll just shrug my shoulders, go, I don't know. I bought the optic that was half the price.
Yep.
Well, it seems that it seems like Trijicon has taken a page out of Ruger's book, and they decided to find out what their competition was doing, make a copy of it, and then sell it cheaper. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's the American way.
That's a free market.
Yeah, or I guess technically that I think some other companies probably got that down, and that's why there's things like NC Star and UTG to buy.
Yeah, that might be the extreme end of that situation, right?
Yeah, right. So next up, I wanted to talk about 3-gun shotguns because I feel like if you're just getting into 3-gunning, or this is going to be your second match, usually guys, if they've got a pistol, a Glock 17 or one of the longer barrel 9mm or whatever, they're going to run with whatever pistol they have that's a service size. And then for a carbine, they're probably just going to run whatever AR they have. And most guys don't want to spend $2,000 to $3,000 on a super drag raced out AR-15 when they're just going to use whatever M4 they have or M forgery. The shotgun is typically where people think they can make do with whatever shotgun they have, and that's really where you lose out on a lot of points because it either doesn't have the shell capacity to really get you a good time on your stages, especially if you I've got a Mossberg 500 pump action, that'll get me by. Well, typically, no, that's not going to get you by. That's probably what's going to hurt you the most as far as when you get your scores tallied up and see how much faster the guys that had extended magazine tube and semi-automatic shotguns ran that course faster than you did. And I can tell you that because my first 3-gun I used the Mossberg 500 pump action. So I'm speaking from experience. That's where I dropped most of my points. So
yeah, I hear most 3-gun matches are won or lost by loading shotgun shells.
Exactly. So, I mean, that and alone, just the fact of loading, I'm sure you could load. There's somebody out there, probably good old Jerry Mitchell himself could load a Mossberg 500 with lightning speed, but most of us won't practice that specific task to get that proficient with it. So you're really going to want something that's semi-automatic, something that's got some kind of inertia-driven recoil system to where, it's going to keep that muzzle fairly low after recoil and you be able to deliver those shots pretty quickly. So a lot of companies have came out with 3-guns centric shotguns, and they can get pretty expensive. So I'm going to cover fairly quickly. I'm going to cover two fairly inexpensive ones that should work pretty well, and then we're going to just touch on how that differs from a really expensive competition one. So right off the bat, we're going to be talking about the Mossberg 930 JM Pro Series, and JM stands for Jerry Michalik. It's kind of his signature series for Mossberg. And then you got the Stoeger M3K 3-gun. So the difference between these two is just very slight. Obviously, the Mossberg 930 has the, I guess you'd call it the tang safety. That's kind of nice for a competitive setting because it's very easy to get to. Right up, you just raise your thumb up and hit it. It's around the back of the action there. Or I should say the back of the receiver of the shotgun. It comes with a 24-inch barrel or a 22-inch barrel, but it comes with that extended magazine tube, so you can hold a capacity of 10 rounds. And I think that, I don't know if that's 10 plus 1 in the chamber or whether that's 9 plus 1 in the chamber. They just say capacity 10.
Mossberg's really weird with capacity. It's probably a 9 plus 1.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I figured. Because I've got an SPX, and it also has an extended mag tube, but it's like probably an inch or two shorter, and that's an 8 plus 1. So it has a 3-inch chamber, so if you can just use the 2 3/4 cheap stuff, or you use 3-inch shells, and you won't get hung up by some of those stubborn steel targets that I've seen people shoot, birdshot at a Texas Spitting Star, and the plate didn't fall off because they nicked it and there wasn't enough inertia to rock it off of its little mount. So having a 3-inch shell is gonna definitely gonna cycle the shotgun a little bit more reliably, especially if it's brand new, and then B, you're gonna have a better payload for knocking down some of those reactive steel targets. So the 930 JM Pro Series MSRP is for $776. I've seen it for under $700, like $6 something. I wanted to get one, but I bought a Mossberg SPX Blackwater instead, and I regret that because that's a Mall Ninja shotgun, or a security home defense shotgun, not a competitive shotgun. So while it would work, it's obviously not going to be as good as this shotgun. It does have some unique features that make it more competitive. It's got a beveled ejection port, or not ejection port, but feeding port. So when you tip the shotgun upside down and you're feeding shells into it, it's got some bevels in the receiver to help guide those shells into the magazine tube and help you feed a lot faster. Maybe even feed 2 at a time. A little bit more better than a shotgun that just has kind of like hard edges there at the bottom. It does have a vent rib style barrel. It does have a fiber optic front sight. It does have an AccuSet choke, and the length of pull is fixed, so you're not able to adjust that. The barrel, like I said, you can get them in 24 or 22. Some of the barrels are ported, so what that does is obviously your wad pushing the pellets down the barrel. Some of those gases are going to come out of those ports and help mitigate the recoil just a little bit. But the biggest strength is that it comes with that extended mag tube, and it looks like there's even that looks like a Nordic Components clamp that holds the barrel and the tube parallel. So that's an extra nice feature to have on there because it keeps your barrel and tube from not getting bent out of parallel arrangement. And then also you can usually put a rail on there if you want to put a POV camera or some kind of accessory on there.
Yeah, cool.
I was just going to mention the weight is 7.75 pounds and the length is 44.5 inches.
You forgot to mention that you can get it in Cryptek too.
Yeah, you can get it in Cryptek. All
right. Nice. Yeah, this looks like a really good option for that, and I've heard it's $6.99 I found at Cabela's, I think, or $6.79 at Cabela's, $6.99 at Gander Mountain. So I'm sure those are big box stores. I'm sure you can find them for cheaper than that online. Yeah. But if you just need one today, you walk into a Gander Mountain, buy it for $6.99, or walk out the door and go shoot a 3-gun match. It's got that oversized charging handle. The magazine, or not magazine, but bolt release button, I think, is a little oversized. Maybe not. I'm not familiar with their regular 930s.
Yeah, it's a decent size.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about going and buying a separate magazine tube to get your capacity on there. It's already, you start out with 9 or 10 in the gun, depending on the rules of the stage. And
and there's a lot of aftermarket accessories available too. So if you want like a side saddle, or there's, if you want some kind of rail or not you can get a rail clamp on there. But if you wanted a like a QD swing swivel stud, those are also available through other manufacturers. So kind of like the 500, this does have a lot of aftermarket availability if you want to customize a little bit more. I'm sorry for interrupting. What were you going to say?
No, I don't think you interrupted.
Okay. I can tell you from experience that if you do not have this locally, but you see the SPX and you think, oh, I'll just get a new barrel for it and it'll be the same thing, don't do that, because that's what I thought. It's a lot harder to come across a barrel. Someone would have to be either trying to sell it and wanting to trade you an 18-inch barrel, or you're gonna have to contact Mossberg's parts department and pay upward to $200 to $300 just for a longer barrel. So,
really?
Yeah,
that's interesting. What's the barrel length on the SPX?
18 inches. It's really kind of more of a combat self-defense small ninja shotgun. And I really wish that I had gotten this instead. But yeah, it's a really good shotgun. I've seen it on the shelves and have been kicking myself ever since for not just being patient. If I ever see it again locally now that I moved, I will probably end up buying it and then selling my SPX, because I use this a lot more, especially if you can take the extended magazine tube off, put a cap on it, and have a limit of 3 rounds, and then 3 inches, it could double as your duck gun too in a pinch, or a backup duck gun for hunting.
Yeah. Now I don't know what your plug laws are, Ryan, in Washington, but you might be able to just throw a rod in there to plug it and not worry about taking the tube off. Just make sure your rod's long enough.
Yeah, but if the warden was looking through binoculars at you, he's going to talk to you. Just the fact that you have that tube on there, and he's going to make you take it off and show him the plug you got in there.
Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I've never actually shot one of these. I have handled one, and a friend of mine about 3 months ago, bought one, and I'm still waiting to shoot it, but I'm hoping one of these days I'll be able to. So I've heard good things about them, so that's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard really good things about these 930s, and then at that price, it's really not. It's a really good price, honestly.
So in comparison,
I have a question for you.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
About this 930 JM.
Yep.
They have them because New Jersey has a 6-round magazine capacity on semi-automatic shotguns. So pretty much this is out. But they also have Mossberg 930s with a smaller, I think they even have the JM with a smaller magazine capacity.
Yep.
So I wonder, could you just buy a tube, if you're competing out of state? Because I think, I don't know whether you'll have to get a, what do you call that, a special dispensation from the Pope or whoever in charge of firearms here in this state.
Well, you might have to have that limited round mag tube pin welded on there just to appease the gun control gods. Is that right?
It's ridiculous here. You can have 30-round magazines if you compete in competitions, and you can only use them at a competition. But somehow you can have 30-round mags at your house. But I wonder about this with the tube with competition shotgunning. I mean, does anyone who competes in Jersey have to have limited rounds, and do they change the stages here? It's just a question that I've never asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. They probably, I would imagine, limit the stages around Jersey. If they know they're shooting in Jersey, they're not going to have that type of a round set up to where you need to shoot 10 before you can reload.
Yeah, but I just find it funny that you could have 30-round magazines in the rifle.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You can't. All right.
Just slap a 10-round magazine tube on a Mossberg 500 pump action and call it the New Jersey Special, and you're good to go.
Oh, you can do that. You can do that. You can even use magazines Sega magazines with the Black Aces Tactical. You could use their 12-round magazines and just change them out. As long as you don't exceed 15 rounds, you can use a pump shotgun.
Wow. Now, looking at it, it honestly looks like, looking at the Nordic Components mag tube versus this JM shotgun, it looks like they're using a Nordic Components
Yeah,
mag
that's
tube extension, and so that comes in +1, +2, +3, all the way up to 9. So you can start with, if it's 5 round standard, you could start with 5 and then add however many you need to get to your local law.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Is Nordic Components makes all different extensions, and like you guys said, it does look very similar if it's not the Nordic Components.
I'm willing to bet because it's got this kind of angled flutes that
Yeah.
I think.
That's definitely a Nordic component clamp, so it makes sense that they just have a couple parts from them on there.
Mm-hmm.
So in comparison, I wanted to bring up another budget shotgun that would work well for 3-gun. So for a little less money, you can get the Stoeger M3K 3-gun shotgun. That MSRP is for $699, so you'll definitely be able to find that for somewhere around $600 or less. So what this is, they took the M3000 line and they just upgraded it to be more optimal for 3-gunning. The difference is it does not have an extended mag tube from the factory, so that's something that you're going to have to buy aftermarket and replace on here. So that's kind of what your price difference is you're going to have to go out and get yourself a mag tube if your stages need more than however many rounds has capacity, which
I couldn't find it. I'm guessing it's probably 5+1 or something.
Yeah, it looks about the length of a 5. So.
But they did add an oversized bolt handle also, but it does come with an oversized what is a bolt button?
Bolt release.
Yeah.
bolt release.
So it comes with that, and as everything we know, it says that it comes with. I saw somewhere, and maybe it was somewhere else. Never mind.
What are you talking about?
But Nordic Components does offer tube extensions for these also, and various.
I believe one of the perks of this M3000 or M3K. I think the M3K is an upgraded version of their M3000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of the same name if you think 3000 and 3K, but it's, I guess, the modern updated version or something along those lines. But anyways, I think that was always one of the perks of it, is that you could put either an 870 or what's the semi-auto 1100. You could put one of those tubes on there and it would work properly. So I think
oh, nice.
I'm not entirely sure. You got to do some research on them because I'm pretty sure they're imported. I'm not sure where Stoeger is, but they're imported. They're just kind of
Turkey, I think.
Smaller name. They're not Mossberg or Remington, so you have to do your research. But at the same time, like Chad said, you get that gigantic bolt release and that big old bolt handle, and it looks like this one has chokes. So if you did want to use it for something other than 3-gun, like Ryan said, yeah, it says chokes. It's got cylinder, improved cylinder, whatever the M modified. So you probably can, and I'd be pretty willing to bet that it's probably a rim choke.
Could be. It is relieved for the shotgun loading to make it easier also. If you compare the 3K to the 3000, you can see where they kind of milled it out to make the loading easier, kind of like the JM Pro was.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of people's problem with them, is there's just too much material in the way. So I think with the 1100s or 1187s, just whatever Remingtons, I guess equivalent would be, people always have to modify the loading port, or else they're cutting their hands up or beating themselves up or something along those lines.
Yeah, and then kind of the difference between this and the Mossberg is this uses an inertia system, kind of like the Benelli's do.
Yeah, I think that was actually everybody's kind of thing, is that it's like a cheap Benelli almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Mossberg, is a gas.
Yeah, it's a gas system.
Right. So there's another. They're probably close to the same price, all said and done. So it's kind of which system do you want?
Right. Yeah, so basically, I think everybody kind of touts it as a, $700 Benelli instead of the $3,000 or however much Benellis tend to run, $3,000 or $4,000.
Right.
So that's really an awesome option if you're trying to do it on a budget, because $699 is not a terrible price to spend for a already completely out the box setup gun.
Right, and that's retail, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I did find one of these Stogers on Turner's. I've heard of them before. I think they're a pretty relatively large store for $699. So I don't know where they might be, somewhere more. I guess once they get out there a little more, maybe more people will have them with the Bass Pros and Cabela's and such.
Yeah.
So it's right at that same price, like Chad said. You just have to pick which system you want, or if the chokes are worth the loss of extended mag tube, or just kind of depends. But
I think another difference is I think the JM Pro has a trigger over travel prevention on there, and the Stoker does not. I don't know if that'll make a difference to you.
Yeah, when you get down to these, I mean, it's just pick one or the other, and how inexpensive the parts are to swap out, to pick and choose when you get to something like this. But really, I'm thinking this is something you can start at and really not be too far behind anybody else to start at a higher price point.
Right.
Because what's the other one, the Versamax from Remington?
Yeah.
They have theirs, and I've shot that. Now, that's a fun shotgun to shoot. Oversized everything, loading gates, pretty cool. But really, when it comes down to a shotgun, like you said, Ryan, it's about loading that sucker.
Yep. Whenever you get practice with it and get competent at loading, not just one round at a time, but up to 2 rounds at a time, to really, the faster you can load those rounds is the faster you can put birdshot on target, and then or buckshot, depending on what they've got you doing there. But that's really where a lot of people, that makes the difference between getting 5th place and 1st place, is how fast you clean the shotgun stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch a lot of these professionals, like Julie Golub, Jerry Michalik, his daughter, all the big competitive 3-gun shooters. You can see what shotgun they're running. Of course, they're sponsored, and so they're going to have the latest and greatest by whoever their sponsor is. But they're all fairly set up similar. Some of them might have muzzle brakes. Some of them might just have big old 28-inch barrels with equally as long magazine tubes, just to cut down on reload times, because that's what really kills you.
Yeah, I think actually if you go to the, it's kind of interesting, if you go to the 930 JM Pro link in Mossberg, that we have on the show notes, you can see a picture of Jerry Miculek shooting his, and it looks nothing like this. He's got like a giant 50 cal style brake on the end, and it's probably got like a 14-round tube on the magazine tube, but he's still got the 22, 24-inch barrel, so it kind of looks funny. You're not used to seeing the magazine tube longer than the barrel, but when you're when you're in competition, in this style of competition, you're not breaching houses or anything like that. You can afford to have as long of a gun as you want, really, and so that's pretty much what he's got, is that long, probably 13, 14 round magazine. He's probably got the longest magazine Nordic makes, which I think is a +9.
Yeah, well, as fast as he shoots, it should be longer, or else he's going to be reloading every second.
I was really bothered by Stoker because I knew it had something to do with Beretta, but I had no idea. Yeah, it was acquired by Beretta, but Stoker's located in New Jersey.
That explains it.
That's why they didn't put the tube extension.
So, and then by comparison, I want to bring up a higher end competition shotgun. So if you've got the shill to drop on this, this is the FN USA SLP competition shotgun. So the MSRP on this guy is right around $1,400. So it's 2 3/4 or 3-inch Magnum. It's got a blue hard anodized receiver and blue hard anodized magazine extended tube. So
and they don't match in the picture.
Yeah, they don't match in the picture, but you get a little bit of that FN team blue going on. It's got a flip-up rear sight and a fiber optic front sight. And I don't think those other two shotguns we mentioned had any kind of rear sight. I think you were just kind of centering your dominant eye, in the middle of the top of the receiver and looking straight down that vented rib. So I don't know if that's going to help you with speed-wise. It does have a large loading port just like the others. 24-inch backboard vent rib barrel, hard chromed bore. It's got improved cylinder, extended choke tube. It's the stock and the fore-end are just matte black synthetic with some checkering on there. It's got a no-slip recoil pad on there. It's pretty standard, and 2 sling swivel studs, whereas the other ones had just kind of I think, built-in loop molded into the synthetic stock. It's got a 2-piece bolt with an active valve gas system, so I think you might be able to adjust that valve to kind of tune it to whatever loads you're shooting. It is gas-operated, obviously semi-automatic, with an interchangeable gas piston. So it's kind of a lot of extra features that not every 3-gun competitor is going to want. Honestly, I think most people, they either shoot for FN, so they get this, or they just really like the color blue and have the money to drop on this. I mean, if you like green, you can buy the Versamax. I think there's someone else out there that's got a red one. And I know that there was another shooter, I think the last name was Flanagan, and he has a special kind of like marbled shotgun. I forget who that was with. I think that might have been a Mossberg 2, or I think it's Patrick Flanagan. That's who it is.
Yeah. One of the drawbacks actually to this one is it's only an 8+1 capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure that FN has the aftermarket support that Mossberg or Remington are going to have, so you might not be able to do anything about the 8-round. You might be stuck with 8-round instead of, like I mentioned, Jerry running 14-round mags. So that's definitely interesting. Maybe it is some kind of standard tube. Maybe it uses the same one, but it kind of looks, just looking on the picture, it might be permanent. It doesn't look threaded like the other ones.
Yeah, it doesn't. So I don't know anything about them. So.
And there's also another Mossberg. I think it might be a very short run. It was Patrick Flanagan's signature series. They called it the Rhythm 930, and this thing has a 12-round magazine tube on it, which protrudes past the barrel. The barrel was a 28-inch non-ported vent rib, but yeah, that 12-shot magazine protrudes past it. And it does come with a convenient 5-shot conversion kit if you wanted to use it for hunting, I guess. But it kind of has marbled blue, almost like Hogue-looking furniture on there. But I think it's kind of similar to Jerry's. I think maybe having 2 signature series 3-gun shotguns was a little bit much. I think the JM was obviously selling more because of Jerry's reputation. So I didn't see this on their Mossberg's website anymore. Kind of interesting looking.
Yeah.
I think it's a little less custom than the JM, and I think more people probably know who Jerry McKillick is. So, like you said, a lot of people buy things for the name, kind of like people buy
Nordic
Blackwater
Components
on the side.
Yeah, Nordic Components sells extensions for the FN SLP magazine extensions. Okay. Yeah, so
cool. So I mean, you could honestly spend $1,400, or you can come in well under half if you're just starting out. So that kind of gives you guys and gals a nice options as far as going for a budget gun. So you've got a little bit more money to invest in your pistol or your carbine or ammo for practice, or if you've got the money and you're looking to improve on your game, be a little bit more professional, you can get something like the FNH SLP.
Yeah, it's definitely a good offering to be able to use, to be able to have an inexpensive thing to get into the game, because you don't know if you're going to like it. offhand. You don't want to go and spend all that money. But once you build your way up, you might see some of these FN features as a plus, and you can upgrade that because there's a definitely a wealth of people that are looking for inexpensive competition shotguns. So if you buy that JM Pro or the Stoker and then you want to move up, you can probably get rid of it pretty easily and move up to something better or more features like this FN.
Yep. Now, speaking of shooting a shotgun competitively, the next product I have on here is a shell holder. And a lot of the times people will just assume, oh, if I've got a bandolier that just has the nylon loops to hold the shells, that'll help me have the capacity. Well, those are cumbersome. They take forever. You're fumbling. That's really not ideal. So I'm going to show you guys a product that this is something that professionals use, something that serious competitors often will have on their belts. And so this is a dueling deuce shotgun shell holder by TACCOM. And so basically they make a couple different configuration shotgun shell holders. This holds 8 on the belt. So it's 4 columns that have 2 shells on top of each other. So there's obviously just kind of a, what do you call that? It's got a shell holder on the top and bottom, so it would obviously hold 1 shell each, one over the top of each other. So you could actually reach with your thumb and probably middle finger and grab a whole column, so grab 2 shells at a time and then feed them into your shotgun 2 at a time. And that's really where you're going to cut down on your time in the stage, is if you're loading 2 shells at a time, if your shotgun allows you to do that without giving yourself the notorious shotgun thumb. So you can load just 2 or load 4. It's ergonomically designed to have the correct angle for pulling shells. Unfortunately, the mounting system is sold separately, which makes no sense to me, but it works with TechLock or ELS systems. So those are 2 different accessory mounting systems that work with like some holsters, and those are sold separately. So you're going to have to pay extra money. These are just MSRP for $44.95, so $45. I think I've seen a lot of different configurations of these. Hopefully you'll be able to find something else that maybe has the clips to go on your belt instead of having to buy something extra. But really, a lot of the people that shoot shotguns proficiently will have on their belt, almost right in front of their belly, a couple setups like these to hold their shells vertically like this, so that you can strip them, by a downward or upward motion, depending on whatever you're more proficient at, and then jamming 2 at a time inside the shotgun.
Yeah, I think maybe the logic for the not having the belt is or the attachment is because they know everybody's kind of got their preference, and rather than them stocking them, they'll just let you buy what you want. So they make it for the 2 most popular attachment systems and just let you pick what you want later. So at $44.95, the TechLock, you can get 1 TechLock clip on Amazon for $11.89. So it's going to be right at $56 per 8 round holder.
Yeah. And TACCOM does sell the TechLock for $10.99.
Okay.
So you'll be able to just add on basically $11 to your order there. I do have a link in the show notes to Brownells where you can buy the Dueling Deuces shotgun holder for it's basically the same price. So, but if you're ordering from Brownells, you can add that to your cart, or if you just want to give us some affiliate love, you can use that link to do so.
Yep.
But also, TACCOM sells, they call it the 20-up dueling deuce. So it's kind of like a chest rig, and it holds 20 shells. And they're all adjustable angles. You can load 2 or 4 at a time. So that would be kind of something more serious if it's a huge shotgun stage and you're shooting up to 20 rounds and over. This would be the way you could do that. They do have just the regular deuce, which is the same price, $45. And then they have the single dueling deuce, which just holds 4, so it's kind of half of the double deuce. I just like saying deuce. It's funny.
The thing is I like how this mount, or holder, it's kind of angled so that when you grab the shotgun shells, you can position it. It's not like you're trying to grab them all off the same plane. You grab the first two, and then the next two are in slightly farther or out, depending on which way you're doing it. And so that looks like it could be kind of a nice idea. I've never actually used this style because I'm old school, and I have the kind that just sit single kind of stack the shotgun shells on your belt that hold like 6. And then with those, you just grab 2 of them at a time and feed them in. But I like this concept that everybody seems to be using.
Well, I've used I think it's California Competition Works, where it holds the shells more horizontally, and so then you would, you can rip off 1 or 2 at a time and kind of be juggling them in your hand as you load them. And those work too, and they make those in configurations to hold like up to 6 at a time. But they're obviously they get taller, and I found that if you're ever having to bend your body, they can sometimes get in the way. But just for real estate space on your belt, I think having the shells stacked vertically makes more sense. Also for being able to load them faster into your shotgun, I would say arguably that a more vertical shell orientation is going to be faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you practice enough, I've seen people grab 4 at a time and load them with. I definitely couldn't do it. Probably in the time it'd take me to load 1 or 2, they're loading 4.
You'd drop the other 2. That's
Yep.
That's what I would do.
How sturdy are these things really strapped in here? I mean, can you draw yourself and move around a lot, or will they just start spilling out after a while?
I think they're designed to hold in there.
Yeah, people run these things. These competitors run these things all the time, and having to run from stage to stage and not losing their shells, and they're pretty common. So I'd imagine they're pretty sturdy.
It's just wondering because I've never run a competition or anything like that, but I have run shotgun clinics and classes. And one of the hardest things to do is keep running that shotgun, keeping it loaded, keeping it topped off. Now, I had mine loaded a dump pouch because I had, Molly gear and everything set up for an assault rifle. Wow, can't believe I said that. Excuse me. I had everything set up for a modern sporting rifle with magazines and everything, but I really had nothing set up for running a shotgun to keep a lot of shells going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep. I'd never really run a shotgun like that. I've only shot clays with it. But then I set up to take this guy's class, and I'm like, how do I keep more than 6 shells going and whatever's in my pocket? So I put a box in a dump pouch and tried to run it like that. But this, I mean, it looks like it's expensive, but after a while, I mean, you have that up mounted. I just wondered, it's sturdy and it becomes second nature just to run it if you're going to start running a shotgun as your defensive firearm. I mean, because I think a lot of this stuff can go from competition to home defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I would be worried at the open front of them. I would be worried in a situation like that because you got to think in a 3-gun competition, you're not going to be in some weird compromised position like you might be if you're trying to crouch down in a closet and cover a doorway kind of thing. So it might be kind of concerning in that situation. But yeah, I think they're plenty sturdy enough for running around on an open range.
Yep.
Well, I'm just talking about when you take classes and run them like that, because for home defense, I don't think I have to strap up with a chest rig if I'm in my house.
Right, hopefully not.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. So right now we're going to get into the main topic, the FI review, and Chad, tell us about this scope you want to show off.
Oh, you mean the mount?
Yeah, the mount.
I have a review on the Warren ramp mount is what it's called. And what it stands for is Rapid Acquisition Multi-Site Platform. And I don't know if you can see it here, but back here there's 2 holes where I took the rail off that you can mount. The nice thing about it is it will mount your scope, and in pretty much any scope, to a modern sporting rifle, AR-15, AR-10. I suppose you could use it on like a SCAR, something like that. And what it does is it gives you the ability to put a small sight at a 45-degree angle off of your standard scope. So for a 3-gun, if you're running like in the open division, because I don't think they allow it in the limited divisions, you can run like an RMR or one of the loopholed delta points, or basically any of these small optics just at a 45-degree angle. So all you have to do is rotate the firearm for close targets. You're just shooting this little teeny dot sight, and then your far away targets you can put whatever scope you want to use, which could be a 1-4, but 3-12, 4-16, whatever you think you might need. It's made from solid. I think they mill it out of aluminum. But those 45s, it comes with two, one on the right side, one on the left side. So if you're right-handed, left-handed, or if you want to put a light on the other side or something to that effect. But I don't actually have one of those small sights right now, so I took them off, which is nice. You can get the ramp mount in 3 different sizes, basically 1-inch, 30mm, and 34mm. So pretty much any of your modern day scopes will fit in one of their mounts. Let's see. The side ones are held on with the 45-degree mounts are held on with 2 socket head screws. You just kind of tighten them down. The mount itself is held on by 2 half-inch hex screws, which nuts basically that stick out the right side, the ejection port side. It says to torque them down no more than 65 inch-pounds in their instructions. And it also comes with a torque wrench for tightening the scope down, which are T15 Torx head screws. It uses 4 per like scope ring is what you would classify it as. So you put those in there, and that pretty much covers that. Our 8 key points, claim to fame, it's a 1-piece scope mount with the side angled mounts. The target market is mainly 3-gun, but I suppose tactical people might want something to this effect. The features and benefits, it's a 1-piece scope mount. It positions the scope at the proper eye relief for AR pattern rifles, solid aluminum construction, 45-degree mounts for red dots or mainly micro red dots or a light of some sort. It's available in those 3 scope diameters, which is a good deal. And it has lots of color options. You can get it in the black, which is what I have. It comes in zombie green, which is like some bright green anodized color. Red, OD green, dark earth, which is, I don't know, there's so many dark earths, I guess it's tan. And blue. So, if you're running one of those FN shotguns, you can get a blue one to match. I was hard actually to find reviews. I was looking for bad reviews, and I couldn't really find any, which is good for them. So I got one from Amazon here. It says, best AR mount anywhere. Bought one of these for my Rock River Arms LAR-15 to use with a loophole Mark AR on top and a loophole Delta point on the side. Got it, opened it up, and could not have been more impressed with the build of this mount. Rock solid craftsmanship. Placed it on my AR and it holds tight and it sits perfectly. Take it off, no problem. Put it back on, exact return to 0. Just bought another one for my RRA LAR-8. Get 1 or 2, you will not ever want any other mount. And then there's a review off of Brownells, and it says a little heavy, even with the side mounts removed. If you're not going to use the 45-degree option, otherwise typical Warren quality, which is the best I've found out there. Only warning I'd give is to do some research before buying this. Will your many red dot sight clear the bell of your primary scope. Ironically, I think the perfect use of this scope with a 45-degree mount would be on a monolithic receiver. It says think SCAR, and the mount backwards. Height is perfect if you don't foresee yourself ever using the side mounts. I would recommend going with the Warren Skell mount, which is basically their lightweight one-piece mount, which is the same mount minus the extra attachments, thus reducing weight. The price point on this thing, the MSRP is $195.49, but if you want to use affiliate links, it's $121.20 on Amazon and $169.99 on Brownells. If you need it now, go to Brownells or Amazon. Amazon's probably quicker if you're a Prime member. Our rating, the pros, I gave it proper eye relief, the removable 45-degree mounts. It's a one-piece optics mount, which is really nice for AR pattern rifles. You can get it in a multitude of colors. It's available for the 1-inch 30mm, 34mm scopes, as I said previously. It is made in the USA. It is rugged, and it does return to zero if you take it off, put it on. The cons are it is heavier than some other mounts, and it does not have a quick detach option. So I gave it an 8.5, and I think I've been using it for a couple years now, so it's a pretty good mount, and I can't say anything bad about it really besides those two little teeny points. And the heavy doesn't bother me so much. The quick detach, I can see how people might want that.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, Chad, actually, whenever I posted this on Facebook, and I tagged Warren scope mounts in the post, and they actually came back and commented on it and said they have what they call their X-Scale 30 Gen 2 extended skeletonized 30mm MSR mount, which the representative that commented on it said if you want a lighter mount, this would be the option to go.
Yes.
So they do offer a lighter one. Do you happen to have the specs of that one in front of you, and we could compare weight?
I do not. In fact, the weights of them, I'm looking here. I know the weight of this one is, I don't know, not heavy. It's 9.5 ounces.
Okay, so this one's 6.7. So
right, and I was going to say it's not like it's super heavy, and actually I won this in a match, so I didn't actually purchase it. And the certificate they gave me was for either this mount or their Skell mount, not their X-Skell mount, which is their predecessor to the X-Skell. And I figured for the little bit of weight then, I was opting for the angled mounts on it just because, someday I might put one on it.
Yeah,
so far I haven't, but I figured 3 ounces to me, I'm not lugging it around, especially on the rifle it's on, so I figured that was worth it to me.
Yeah, everything's a trade-off. So if you want to put that offset optic anyways, you're gonna have to add for the weight anyway. So it's 2 ounces.
Right, so. And there are some offset irons that will work with it. They make an offset mount for the front, so like to mount on a pick rail or something that sets it at the same height at the 45-degree angle as the ramp mount.
Okay.
So like if you wanted to use, like, I'm guessing like the Magpul M-Bus sights would probably fit, probably a bunch of open sights, and then in that case for 3-gun it kind of depends on the category you're running if it throws you in open class or not, and I'm not sure depending on if you're shooting 3-Gun Nation or if you're shooting USPSA. They all have slightly different rules. So.
If you're just shooting non-affiliated club matches, you have no clue what...
Club matches, they'd probably let you run it in one of the limited classes because limited optics or whatever the one is where they allow you one optic. And so since the others are irons, they're not an optic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then that also, if you're using a like high magnification optic, or whether you're just using like a 1:4, to where you just use the scope lever and take it down to 1x magnification, and that usually helps you take care of any ridiculously close like cardboard targets that you'd be surprised if you just think you can point shoot those with a carbine and you'd miss them completely. Because I've done it.
Exactly. I will show you guys one more thing. If you can see it on the video, you can kind of see where the charging handle is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can really tell, but it helps you. You can still get to the charging handle, so without much trouble, which is kind of a good thing.
Rather than having extended.
Yeah, and this one actually, I haven't put an extended one on yet, and you can still grab it and use it.
Nice.
So you're limited as to the scope height with this. So they obviously only feature one, and you can't get it in mid or tall or very tall.
Right, and I was looking, and they don't really tell you how high of scope you can put on it. It just says on their site, as large as 8 to 25 or larger variable optic. It pretty much depends on, where it sits. It says it sits above the upper receiver by 1 3/4 inches, so, or 1 3/4 inches. So,
Okay.
That's a pretty good size bell diameter.
Yeah. And then also getting their T15 torque wrench. I love that thing. I keep it in my range bag. If you've got a scope mount that uses torque screws, this is definitely something nice to have to tighten those up. But of course, it being a torque wrench, logically you wouldn't need to tighten them up because it's torquing them to the right amount of 25 inch-pounds.
Right, on their you have the little hand one.
Yeah, like the little T-shaped plastic hand one.
Because they also make one for their half-inch. The actual mount itself, they make a 65 inch-pound one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Definitely worth having.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks for doing that review. That's actually really awesome.
Yeah, I've had it for a long time, and I need to do a review on that. And then, like I said, and you said, oh yeah, it's going to be a 3-gun one. So I was like, oh yeah, this is actually 3-gun appropriate.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've got like 3 of the Burris peppers or peepers.
Yeah.
And this actually looks quite a bit more slimlined than that does, as far as rounder edges, and even the nuts look a little bit like they don't stick out as far as they do on the peeper.
They stick out about a half-inch.
Yeah.
From the mount.
Ryan's real particular about his
Yeah.
I'm real particular about my nuts.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll
I was gonna say it, but I'll let you say it.
It's less than a half-an inch off the mount. It's about 3/4 of an inch from the side of the rail.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for that review then. Plus, also it says Team Warren on the side, so you can pretend like you're sponsored by having the scope on your gun.
Well, I did win it, so does that count?
Yeah, there you go. And then also, whether you are putting this on a carbine or even a long gun that you might have some worn scope rail on there, this looks like it would make itself at home on either. I don't know why you would really need a 45-degree optic on a bolt-action rifle, but if that's what you wanted for a light or laser or bottle opener, you could do that. So next up for the Tech Gadget app, I had kind of trouble finding something high-tech that would relate to 3-gun that wasn't like a really shoddy iPhone like shot timer or something like that. So I kind of found something a little bit off the wall that this might not necessarily be practical, but it's kind of awesome. It's Armatech is the company, and they made an automatic magazine loader. So this thing looks like an industrial like reloading machine, except you put loaded 223 cartridges into this giant funnel, and it automatically orients them all pointing the right direction. And so it's got a touch screen where you program how many rounds you want loaded into each magazine and how many magazines you want loaded. You put your AR-15 magazines in this kind of hopper assembly, and you literally program it, hit start, and it like speed loads these magazines super fast. So it's got it just runs on air compressor. So like using a small air compressor, you can run this thing. And then obviously it does have electricity that you need to plug it in to something that's at least 110 volt. It weighs 250 pounds. It's a pretty large unit. But basically they're saying that it eliminates hand injuries or fatigue from loading magazines continuously. It'll accept all modular magazine feeding systems from all manufacturers. So it's for 5.56 or 223. It eliminates damage to magazine feed lips, which I don't know how that would. It must have such tight tolerances that it's not going to accidentally harm the feed lips. So it can load 29 bullets in 12 seconds. I would argue that nobody can beat that by hand. You can load up to 15 magazines in less than 4 minutes. It holds 2,000 bullets in the funnel, and there's an additional external silo that you can put on here to load up to 10,000 bullets. So it's got a powerful control panel with a simple operation. I'm not sure. This would be like if you owned a club and you had a very high round count and you liked machinery and you wanted to invest in something like this. I don't see an MSRP. I know that they're working on a new website, Armatech is. So right now the website's armatech.co.il. They were at SHOT Show this last year. I don't remember stopping by their booth. But it's definitely something high-tech that's interesting that it's definitely the military who would do very well at having some of these at their base stations because it loads magazines super quick. You can use those handheld ones, but what's that?
I think what they need to do if they're at SHOT Show next year is they need to take it to Range Day and just show people by loading everybody's magazines for them.
Yeah.
Have somebody with like a select fire AR to draw the attention, because when you hear something fully auto, it kind of flocks the crowd, and then show these magazines being refilled.
Yeah, and you got to watch the video on this thing. I'm sure you guys did, but it's pretty cool. The guy just dumps like a bucket of shells in, and he pushes the buttons on the control panel. He's got loaded magazines. I mean, who wouldn't want that? I mean, I'd put one in my garage. The problem is they're probably way too expensive, and I can't imagine that I would need to load 10,000 rounds at once. I couldn't afford 10,000 rounds.
Does it? I wonder. I haven't watched the video. Does it have a magazine feed type thing, or do you have to replace the magazines itself manually?
I think it's manually, but I think they're gravity fed, so it kicks one out and then the next one drops down.
Okay. So you don't have to hand feed. You don't have to stick magazines in.
You have to stack them in this.
Yeah.
Thing, but that's all you have to do, I think.
I'm thinking kind of like a primer feed tube on a reloading press. So you just stack them in and puts bullets in one, knocks one out, puts bullets in the next one, knocks one out.
Yep, that's kind of what it's like.
Yep. And you just come visit it every couple minutes and put some fresh empty magazines in the stack to keep it going. Now, just a little bit more modification, and you could just rig this thing up to some kind of firearm, and you could have a machine gun that just perpetually keeps loading, and you just dump ammo right into the silo. That'd be pretty awesome. Obviously
wonder
not 3-gun
how much
related,
this
but
thing
still
works.
awesome. How much
I
it
wonder
is?
how
Yeah,
much this thing would be. Yeah.
I don't know.
10 grand.
You could send them an email from their website, but it would probably be extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah. And really, the funny thing about Jersey, you can't have a loaded magazine in the vehicle. So it makes no difference.
Well, so it's
Well,
great. Take it to the range.
Yeah, you can load everyone's magazines. Take 5.
Yeah,
You can charge people $1 a magazine to fill it up using your machine, and I'm sure in just a couple outings you'd get your money back.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, that's a range where they're actually running 3-gun at, so they have 30-round magazines, because other than that, it's Jersey. Nobody's thumb gets tired loaded 15-round magazines.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll try and find something better for next week, some kind of app or something electronic that would be more useful. I really just can't think of anything unless it's, like I said, usually you're not using the shot timer. Whoever's running the stage, the RSO is running it. So maybe you guys can help me find something for next week. So we got no listener feedback. Also want to make sure we plug, there's a special event on September 19th at the Bullpup Shoot in Mount Carroll, Illinois. So if you want to come meet some of the FRN guys and go shoot some awesome bullpups and you're in the Illinois area, check that out. I've got the bullpupshoot.com link in the show notes, or you just enter the URL, bullpupshoot.com. So actually, before I close up, I'm going to have Tony tell us more, so that way people are hearing this before they just tune out at the end of the podcast. So, what are you working on now, Tony? As far as what you're doing over there in the great state of New Jersey?
Right now, we still got the diversity shoot going. I'm having companies and individuals donate more things to be raffled off during the event. One of the guys that come out to my event, he's an instructor. He also owns Union Hill Gun Club, which is opening up around here very soon. He went to a Larry Vickers class and talked to Larry Vickers about the Second is for Everyone diversity shoots. Larry Vickers donated 2 hats, 2 shirts, signed them all. So that's going to be raffled off at my shoot coming up on September 17th at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, New Jersey. You can go on Simon Says Train and check it out. Also, I've been making phone calls to different manufacturers around the country, and I will be giving away a AR-15 lower that was donated. I'll go ahead and say their name once I'm sure it is. I had the FFL hook up with them, so we'll be raffling off a AR-15 lower. I was talking to my friend Sean from Black Bag Resources. He's going to go ahead and provide the lower parts kit for it. So pretty much you have the start of an AR if you come out and win it at the Second is for Everyone shoots. So that's going to be on September 17th at 6 o'clock. If you want to come, go to Simon Says Train, click on the events page, and let me know you're on the way. Other than that, my other thing is coming up, but when we get closer to the date, I'll tell you about that. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Giving away basically a assembled or a lower with a lower parts kit installed. Is it forged or is it billet?
I have no idea. It's funny, I called him up. I said, hi, I'm doing this shoot. This is what it's for. And I'd like, for something from, if you could donate something for your company. I was thinking T-shirts, stickers, hats. He was like, want an AR lower? I'm like, yeah. So did I ask which one it is? No.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned Larry Vickers, because I think he posted on Facebook today something like, hey, look out, there's a huge training opportunity going on next year, and I looked at it, and it's actually somewhat close to me in Covington, Louisiana. It's about an hour and a half away from me, but it's Pat McNamara, Larry Vickers, and Mike Pannone. It's a 3-day handgun trifecta class is what they call it. So it's 3 really hardcore days of handgun training, and that's September of next year. So I guess if somebody's interested in that, look it up. And I doubt I'll be attending because it's
pretty
$800, and Larry Vickers doesn't want me in his classes. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Why, you carry appendix?
Yep.
But you have 3 Delta Force operators teaching you, which is cool if you think someone has to be in Delta Force to teach you to line your sights and squeeze the trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool and all, and it's not necessary for some people, but I think it would be pretty cool if it was around here and I had $800 to spend on training.
I don't believe it's a terrible price, but I imagine this class is going to fill up really quick, and I don't have. It requires 50% down. I don't have $400 to throw down right now to wait on something for a year. So, but I imagine that class will fill up if you're interested to take advantage of it.
It's a 2-day class, you say, right? I saw the email.
3-day.
Click on
3-day
class?
Yep.
Larry Vickers, all these guys have 2-day classes that are over $500, and if you get all 3 of them for 3 days, yeah, it's a heck of a deal.
Yep. It's hosted by NOLA Tech if you want to look that up. So
nice. Right on. So yeah, just closing up. Send questions or comments to myself at podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or cross@firearmsradio.tv. Always ready and willing to hear listener feedback. Subscribe to our podcast and leave us an iTunes review. And check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and future industry coverage. So thank you to my main crew. Thank you for showing up and taking part in our podcast again.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Next week we'll be talking about some pistols and some more 3-gun stuff, so make sure you guys tune in to episode 96 for that, and if there's any extra products that we forgot to add and you're very upset with us for skipping over it, make sure you email me and we'll add that on to maybe 97 if we have enough 3-gun products that to share with the rest of the listeners. So everyone shoot safe, have a great week, stay cool, and I'll catch you on the next one.